Answering this seemingly simple question requires a quick review of human evolution and the advent of chronic disease. For the vast majority of our time on planet Earth, we humans were hunter-gatherers, eating fish, whole foods harvested or hunted in the wild. There were few grains, no pesticides, no herbicides, few processed foods, and no genetically modified foods. The topsoil teemed with beneficial organisms, plants grew at a natural pace, and trace minerals were recycled back into the soils for next year's season. Plants and animals provided nourishing, nutrient-dense food, and chronic disease was virtually non-existent. While our ancestors may not have lived long lives due to infectious illness and trauma, they were mostly free of inflammatory and degenerative diseases. This phenomenon has been chronicled by anthropologists like Weston A. Price, a Canadian dentist who sought to understand how traditional cultures avoided both tooth decay and chronic disease. Turns out that people of traditional cultures who ate local food were naturally healthy and fit. Had they not succumbed to tuberculosis or the elements, they might have lived to 70 or beyond. Modern foods and human biology, an evolutionary mismatch. Fast forward to the Industrial Revolution, which eventually ushered in mass agriculture and machinery for large-scale production to feed a growing American population after World War II. Vast quantities of processed cereal grains like wheat, corn, rice, and soy provided a cheap and easy source of calories. Procuring fast, frozen, and packaged foods, after all, is way more efficient than foraging for sustenance. But convenience has come at a cost. As we become great mass producers of grains, oils, and animals, we've also gotten really sick. Today, chronic illnesses afflict nearly half of all adults, cause the most deaths and disability in the United States, and are a leading driver of healthcare costs. Most tragically, these diseases, once rare or associated with old age, now affect children, and especially women in their prime. Food sensitivities, mysterious and frequently debilitating symptoms, insulin resistance, obesity, and chronic illnesses are becoming the norm. It turns out that our modern lifestyle is at the root of autoimmune conditions, and modern foods are one of the biggest culprits. As people have shifted from eating a diverse diet of foraged foods to eating only a few staple crops, the population has experienced an overall decline in health and longevity. We have also shifted from intermittent food availability to constant food availability, packaged processed foods, and from seasonal eating to year-round obtainability, imported or greenhouse-grown foods. The shortcuts provided by fast and cheap packaged foods are not a good match for human biology. Our bodies are rebelling against these unnatural foods, and we're developing modern chronic diseases that were extremely rare or absent prior to the agricultural era. Some call these modern chronic illnesses mismatched disorders for that reason. In other words, the standard American diet, SAD, aka Western diet, loaded with sugars and chemically produced products, is a fast track to insulin resistance, obesity, cancer, and autoimmunity. The return to health. The great news is that a return to health and vitality usually follows a return to more traditional ways of eating, often in a short time, too. We know that people from traditional cultures who adopt Western diets suffer the same health consequences as people who grow up eating a Western diet. Even a temporary SAD diet can lead to diabetes, obesity, and heart disease, each risk factors for autoimmune conditions. Nutrition researcher Karen O'Day studied Australian Aboriginals who had left their native home in the bush for the more westernized town of Derby, Australia. With access to refined carbohydrates and a more sedentary lifestyle, it wasn't long before they became obese and diabetic.